I broke the record of the longest KGB illegal undetected, altogether close to 20 years. I was really good at learning how to be an American. I had forgotten that I was a spy at one point. The passport agent said to my face, "I have some doubt about your identity." Flipped his ID and said to me, "FBI, we would like to have a talk with you." All the color left my face. I was like, oh. So I made a joke. I asked him, "So what took you so long?" What was dangerous was my very existence. There was a very high probability that people like me would wind up in jail. Morality is not in play when it comes to dirty intelligence.
So where do you rank the KGB among spy agencies?
Number one, because...
What is going on in Russia right now? So how many Chinese sleeper agents do you think are here? How do you think current spies are using AI?
I had forgotten that I was a spy at one
point. For decades, you were able to evade detection, capture. I'm just curious, like, what does that say to you that no one was on to you? You were active at your university. You even gave the graduation speech. You succeeded in corporate America. You had girlfriends. You got married. You had kids. Like what does that say to you that no one?
There's two things. It's a combination. Number one is I was really good at learning how to be an American and knowing when I was not. So for instance, the first couple of years, I did not socialize very much. And clearly I stayed away from trying to date born American women. They would have figured something out. Women have that sixth sense. I can take credit for that in that I just observed, I watched, and because nobody trained me how to be an American in Moscow, I'm self-taught. The first year when I didn't have a job, I spent the day wandering around in the city. That was my playground, right? Exploring the city. And then I watched television. I watched football, I watched baseball, I watched soap operas. It doesn't teach you how to be an American, but it teaches you parts of the culture that you can't learn in Russia, in another country. But how I learned how to be an American is when I was a messenger, and there were a lot of times when I had to wait in the office for another package, and I just listened. And I listened to how these folks in the office interacted with one another, what they liked, what they disliked. I watched how they operated, body language and everything. I was self-taught. The KGB were recruiting people who they knew could teach themselves to be successful. The other thing is good spies also need a ton of luck. You're talking about, me be valedictorian at a U.S. college, and nobody, not even the school newspaper, did a feature on me. And I may have told you about me failing with a passport application where the passport agent in the agency said to my face, "I have some doubt about your identity." And because he was looking at the materials that I put in front of him, and there was a messenger who was applying for a passport who didn't know you could leave these questions unanswered. They didn't know where he was going and when he was going. I left it open. So that smelled like big time. And I was lucky enough that maybe I was his last customer. Maybe he wanted to go home. Or I was actually clever enough to remove my documents that were in front of him at the counter and walk out with them. So maybe I was also lucky that he didn't remember my name.
Oh, so when he said that to you, you just took your papers away?
No, first he said, he was polite enough, he said, to prove who you are, why don't you fill out this additional questionnaire? And he gave me that questionnaire, and I walked to the back and I looked at the first question and I says, oh, you know what I'm talking about. The question was, where did you go to high school? right then and there. There was no record of a Jack Barsky having gone to high school. Because Barsky, I knew that instinctively because Barsky was and still is a very, very rare name. And the school the only school that I was aware of was part of my cover story. They had me attending Peter Stuyvesant. Oh, what a stupid choice. That was and still is a school for the gifted.
Yeah, so you're saying by saying Stuyvesant High School, they were giving you too famous a high school where people could too easily check.
Oh, no, they would have immediately called them up. They were, okay, is there a record of this guy attending here and at your school? And immediately somebody would have knocked on my door and said, can we have a chat with you? And I was, no way was my assumed identity safe.
And Jack, literally, if they had knocked on your door, you're saying you would have just given up? You wouldn't have tried to run or tried to flee or anything like that?
No running. I had instructions what to do in a situation like that. I would just say nothing, ask for an attorney, and once I had an attorney, I would ask for eventually, when it was clear that they had enough information that they didn't need a confession, really. So at that point, I was supposed to ask for a representative from the East German diplomatic delegation.
Oh, East German, not Soviet.
East German, not Soviet, right? If you were caught spying on the Soviet, you would be miserable in jail and you might be tortured. And they told me, don't worry about it. I still remember like this was yesterday. This guy, Alex, said, don't worry about it. They're not violent. They may slap you around a little bit, and that's a quote, but you're going to be okay. And then I've heard this more than once, we will get you out. And that they had a track record of doing so. Because here's the thing, it's not because they cared so much about us. If there was not a track record that they would get the people out of jail, nobody would sign up for this thing. Because there was a very high probability that people like me would wind up in jail.
Wait, so how would they get you out?
Oh, you know how Bridge of Spies, they did an exchange. And if they didn't have an asset, such as a CIA spy that they caught, they would just set up a prominent business person, concocted something that they didn't do, put it out in the public. And the United States typically was nice enough to the people that were caught innocently or doing something really stupid and for which they were caught.
You know who I think they did that to, now that you describe that? There was an American female basketball player named Brittany Griner.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking of her. Yeah.
That is crazy. So, because it never did make sense that they not only grabbed her up, but that they were so intent on keeping her. And you're just saying she ended up just being a pawn in probably a larger scheme, because they ended up getting back someone fairly substantial, or someone's, I think.
Yes, well, they got back an international arms trader, I believe. Somebody who operated illegally in several countries trading arms, yep.
That is so interesting. It did seem strange to me that they were so intent on like holding her. And now that you say that, it actually makes way more sense.
Absolutely, because she was a public figure. And she really did something stupid, and that gave him phenomenal leverage. Morality is not in play when it comes to dirty intelligence.
Wait, so what kind of dirty stuff are you talking about that they do in a scenario like that?
Very often, there may be women involved. You know, the KGB in the old days, they did use those Red Sparrows. What actually existed was a school outside of Moscow where they trained those hookers. But there's a movie, I think it's called Red Sparrow, and that is completely off the wall wrong. These ladies did this not because they were pressured into this as a patriotic Soviet citizen. They did it because they wanted access to Western goods. They did it, it gave them an advantage. So you wind up taking pictures, or, go to a hotel room where pictures or videos can be taken. Then you concocted something else, and before you know it, you arrested that guy, and he's now in jail. And it had to be somebody who was a known entity and who had support from powerful entities in the United States.
So interesting. So where do you rank the KGB among spy agencies? Was it number 1, number 2, number 5, number 10?
With regard to reach, power, number 1, because the KGB was the combination of CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the local police force. They were everything. Stalin built up the KGB to be his personal power instrument. There's no other intelligence agency that was that powerful. With regard to effectiveness, they weren't that successful. You know who was the most successful agents for the KGB were moles, were people who did it for money, were people who already had access to secrets.
Hey guys, I think a bunch of you know that I'm on a health journey these days. I'm trying to cook different, maybe try and exercise a little bit differently, trying to walk more, even trying to sleep better. But even with all of that, my favorite cousin kept pushing me. She said you should consider supplements. And if I'm honest, I was a little bit hesitant. I don't know whether it's because I was busy, whether I just didn't want more stuff in my body. But recently I found something really beautiful. If you haven't tried Dose before, this is a wonderful supplement. It's about 2 ounces. A lot of folks say it tastes like mango, but with a little bit of kick in it. It's got beautiful things like turmeric and ginger and lemon, all sorts of goodness in it. And it's great if you've got cholesterol issues like yours truly, or even if you're just thinking about kind of general liver health. Look, I'm no doctor, but I know that good stuff is good stuff. And so I hope you'll consider this. And if you do, tell them that Carlos sent you. Go ahead and get 35% off. Enjoy it, and enjoy it.
In addition to the moles that I mentioned, like the most successful spies for the KGB during the Cold War were Robert Hanssen, who was very senior in the FBI, and Aldrich Ames, who was very senior in the CIA. Both of them actually planned operations against the Soviet Union, and once they had the plans, they shared them with agents in New York City, and in the British.
Shared them with KGB agents in New York City.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, ironically, the director of counterintelligence for the CIA, Aldrich Ames, and the director of counterintelligence for the FBI, Robert Hanssen, both of whom were charged with actually identifying Soviet agents, got flipped themselves. And you're saying
they volunteered. They didn't get flipped.
What does that say to you that they volunteered, Jack? That is an interesting distinction.
In intelligence circles, there's an acronym to recruit people that stands for how people can be motivated to join your side. The acronym is called MICE. The M stands for money, I stands for ideology, C stands for coercion, and E stands for ego. Now, Aldrich Ames did it for money. He wanted money. He was married to a woman who had a very high standard of living that he needed to provide. So he went to the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C. and offered his services. Robert Hanssen did it for ego. He was a believing Christian. He actually confessed his sins to his pastor, who did not go to counterintelligence because it was supposed to be secret. It's like, these stories are just mind-blowing. But Hanssen felt that he was underappreciated, and he just wanted to screw his bosses. The KGB preferred ideologically driven people. Simply, ideology sticks for a long time. Once you believe in a cause and you serve that cause, you don't want to admit that you served the wrong cause, okay? So, and with regard to my transformation, I was lucky to be transformed very gradually. When I went back to East Germany and mingled with some old friends of mine who were in the Communist Party just like I was, they were still believers. So one other thing, that MICE acronym can't fit the L word. Love is most likely more powerful than the other 5 altogether. Give you one example. Ultimately, I left the KGB to be able to take care of my daughter. It can be even more powerful. Let's assume my daughter has an incurable illness, and an intelligence service finds that out, and they say, we can help. We can save your daughter. Now, how many real human beings would pick their country over their child?
That makes sense to me when I hear that. Tell me that story of being betrayed, because again, you get here in the 70s, you're here successfully for quite a long time. In the 80s, you use a very clever maneuver because you loved your daughter so much to effectively get out and retire. And so you're retired, you're doing well in corporate America, and on come the 90s and the 2000s, and you're still living a good life, but then something happens.
Yeah, but for the record, I broke the record of the longest KGB illegal undetected, because that went, altogether close to 20 years. That was one of the reasons that while I was still active, I received the second highest decoration of the Soviet Union, because I must have really done very well in the eyes of the decision makers in the Kremlin, not just the KGB. So there was this archivist in the lead archivist in the first directorate of the KGB. First directorate is espionage, and he had access to everything in the archives, and so he would just take a look at and read and realized how evil the organization was that he served. So what he did, he hand copied bits and pieces of information in little pieces of paper and smuggled them out in his underwear and his socks. What a security flaw in the KGB to not occasionally look, just tap people down and just like let them take the clothes off. That happens in American intelligence as well, everywhere. You get lazy. The way I got lazy when I was undetected for so many years, I cut corners. I didn't, because I knew everything was good. I was indestructible, so to speak. But so Mitrokhin copied everything with a typewriter, and he had sheets of paper that he then put in boxes and buried those boxes. According to MI6, the biggest find in international espionage, second biggest. The first one was the theft of the atomic secret, because that made the Soviet Union a superpower. Amongst Mitrokhin's notes, there was a brief little piece that says, there's an illegal in the United States by the name of Jack Barsky. He lives in the Northeast. That's it. That's all they know. And FBI just checked the Social Security files, and it turns out that I had applied for Social Security at the age of 40.
Wow. But then they watched you for quite a while.
A couple of years, because they were now really worried that they had more moles in these organizations. And because of that, they knew that I was extremely well trained, because I had lived in the country undetected for so many years. And that could have made me dangerous. Maybe I was running a couple more moles, agents, right? So they took their good time, because if they had gotten too close to me, I would have noticed. I had forgotten that I was a spy at one point. I just lived like a petty bourgeois, reasonably well-to-do, with a family, with a wife and 2 children. And so when they introduced themselves, there was a big surprise.
Literally, you were caught off guard.
I was so caught off guard that the lead agent who flipped his ID and said to me, FBI, we would like to have a talk with you. All the color left my face. And, I became numb for a few minutes. I couldn't think. I was like, oh.
What did you say when they?
Well, I didn't say anything initially, because I told you I was numb. But they put me into a vehicle, and as we were driving off into the mountains there of Pennsylvania, my instincts came forth. I lost the numbness, and instinctively I knew first of all, that if you capture an agent of a hostile power, you try to turn him. Okay? So I knew that would be in play. But I also knew that, and I learned this by, working with people all the time and observing people, that when somebody likes you, they treat you better. So I made a joke. I asked him, so what took you so long? So that set the tone for the interrogation, not to be an interrogation, but just a talk to figure out what we can do together. Because I told him the next time I had a chance to say something, when we were sitting down at a motel, and I took the initiative again, and I said, I know that I'm in a situation right now that for me, and particularly my family, to get out of the situation with the least amount of damage, I have to cooperate as much as I can, and I intend to fully do so. So then what ensued was not interrogation. There was no hostile questioning. It was just talk. And then they took altogether, I'd say I think more like 8 weeks to one-on-one debriefing me in great detail. Then I had to still pass a lie detector test. And in that period, I was not sure whether I was going to wind up in jail or not. There was no promises made. I just unpacked everything I knew and then hoped for the best. And when I passed the lie detector test, they told me that there was a path to a green card and eventually citizenship. So now I'm a legal American.
Hey, Bev. So I wanted to follow up on Vegas. When are you thinking about that for the trip? What days?
So I'm thinking either the 20th or the 21st. Does that work for you?
I think it does, as long as it's early enough in the month. I think that probably works.
Wait 1 second.
Okay.
Do you mind giving me that dose, please?
Wait, what did you just say?
It's this really wonderful supplement for cholesterol called Dose. Have you seen it?
This is so crazy. I feel like I'm literally, Bev, seeing this everywhere. It is wild.
I started drinking it because a friend told me. It actually tastes like mango, a little bit of spicy because it has turmeric. It helps with cholesterol.
Okay, all right, well, I obviously need to do that. That damn Dose is everywhere. Hey, man.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good, good. How you been?
I've been doing great, man.
Is that you?
Oh, that's us.
Oh, wow. Are you using that?
Yes. Man, everybody is, man.
It is crazy. I had not heard about it until a couple months ago, and now I feel like everybody's using it. Damn, I may need to start trying it.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, I like that.
You want one?
You have it here?
Man, stop, man. I got just what you need.
Okay, all right. Oh, you got the little fancy things, huh?
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, a little shot of something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I actually have this?
Man, come on, man.
All right, okay, all right. You don't have to tell me once.
Step back now. Watch out.
You sure this is good for me?
Oh, it's good.
Okay, all right.
It'll be good to you.
Tastes a little bit like mango,
Okay.
but with a little bite.
Okay.
It's like, they must have some pepper in this.
Ain't nothing like getting bit.
What made you start on this?
Man, I'm getting to be 65 years old on Monday.
Happy birthday early.
That's right.
So this is, you think this is giving you a little something?
Oh man, it's gonna be a part of my life for a long time. Yeah, man. What do you want, man?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing. Make me beautiful.
Well.
You ended up going through this amazing transformation where you show up in the 70s as a hardcore communist from Russia by way of Germany. You're planted here as a spy, limited contact. You ultimately become a bite messenger. You become a student. You become a technologist. And somewhere along the way, you become an incredibly successful capitalist. You end up becoming a C-suite guy in the Fortune 500. You end up working with all kinds of executives and kind of complicated technologies. Why were you able to evolve in that way? Because that would have been a tough evolution for most of us.
Well, first of all, I told you about decontamination. Now, as a bike messenger, I didn't know the difference. I was able to make good money, but it was a dangerous job. And I still believed that capitalism and imperialism were evil, and I was still, deep down, I was a communist. And I still believed in that until I had my first job in a corporation. And I picked something that I really liked, and that was programming, creating something. And I just fell in love with that. And then I earned quite a bit of money, and I didn't participate in the exploitation of man by other men, because I worked for an insurance company. They were actually very paternalistic in those days. They took care of their employees. It felt like almost like I was back home. We got free lunch. And not just free coffee, free lunch. And when I was hired, I was told implicitly, but almost explicitly, when you start working here, you'll have a job forever. Well, yeah, that sounded like communism. And then I had a family. At first, I had only one child and a wife. If I wanted to make a good living for them, I needed to be more competitive. So now competition comes into the mix. And, I was really a good programmer, and every 6 months I got another raise. And then sat down with every one of the individuals in my organization one-on-one. So I paid attention to them. And I appreciated what they're doing. So for the first time, they had a manager who really appreciated them for their capabilities, okay? Now, if your boss appreciates that, it makes a big difference.
So how many Chinese sleeper agents do you think are here? I mean, you having been a sleeper agent yourself on behalf of the Soviet Union.
Okay, when you ask about sleepers, there can be lots and lots of them, but I was an illegal, and of those, there aren't too many. An illegal is somebody who doesn't operate under his own identity. People like me are very difficult to find with regard to their ability to operate that way, and are very difficult to maintain. So sleeper agents, you got to be careful anytime you're dealing with a Russian national or a Chinese national. I'm not saying they're bad, but some of them will be operating against the best interests of the United States.
Oh, interesting. So do you think we in America are currently underestimating the degree to which there are Chinese and Russian agents here in the U.S. who are actively doing work on behalf of those governments?
I cannot speak to whether the intelligence agencies are also. Even if they're aware, we were talking strength in numbers here. If you find people who are willing to do this, and everybody who doesn't live in the United States wants to come to the United States still. The number one assignment that people in the KGB were hungering for was go to the United States. Me too.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because?
We are still the richest country in the world, and you can still have dreams and have them fulfilled without too much intervention from the government. Now, I say still because this is gradually changing. And the other thing is American culture has had a huge influence on the world. We're talking about rock music, soul, black music. There's so much incredible down-to-earth culture in the United States that also makes this country very attractive.
Talk to me a little bit, both as a technologist and as a former spy. How do you think current spies are using AI, or how do you think they will use AI?
Well, like everybody else, okay, but AI doesn't know yet what is in decision makers' minds. So we don't know we can't hack Vladimir Putin's brain yet. that may well be one day that be over. So as long as humans are decision makers, AI.
Oh, but that's actually very interesting, Jack. You're saying that you could really, if you were the government, you probably would train one of these models to think like Putin, to think like Xi Jinping,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
think like
Yes.
to think like the leader of Iran.
The capabilities are outstanding, but does it revolutionize intelligence? Not yet. And as I said, the most important thing in intelligence is guessing where decision makers are going. Okay, but there's an element in intelligence where AI can be extremely useful and has been, and that's artificial personas. You create, and the Russians were actually ahead of us. You familiar with the Internet Research Agency? That was a non-government agency that put artificial personas on the internet. They weren't AI yet, but they felt like real people.
You're right that we couldn't tell bots 10 years ago, and now,
Right.
as you're saying, with all the sophisticated AI, someone could create. I mean, basically, you could create Jack. You could create.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You could
But-
create a whole sleeper agent with a whole credible story and social trail and everything else.
But I don't know. The United Nations is the biggest international agency, and quite frankly, they're feckless these days. They just talk a lot. They don't help mankind to live a better life. It's very political, and I don't know if man will be able to, unite and say, yeah, we need to make sure that we preserve the human race, because the human race is in danger.
I think it's moving really swiftly. Jack, let me turn to something a little bit different. What is your favorite spy movie? Do you have a favorite spy movie?
Spies Like Us. It's a comedy.